Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 16 millimeter film crew. I'm Cindy.
And I'm Dale.
You can watch us on YouTube. You can like and comment on our YouTube videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to us everywhere podcasts are found at 16 millimeter film crew podcast. And you can visit us on our website at www.16millimeterfilmcrew.com. This week, we watched Longlegs, directed by Oz Perkins. Here's your synopsis. FBI agent Lee Harker is assigned to an unsolved serial killer case that takes an unexpected turn, revealing evidence of the occult. Harker discovers a personal connection to the killer and must stop him before he strikes again. This movie stars Micah Monroe, Nicolas Cage, Blair Underwood, and Alicia Witt. So, Dale, thought.
Um, I don't know. Maybe like I felt the movie. Honestly, the movie's like what, an hour and like 44 minutes long total runtime. But for some reason, like it felt a lot shorter because like I would like look away from the screen for like 1 second and then you're halfway through the thing. Like stuff was like, but it was weird because this movie is really dialogue heavy, and most movies that are really dialogue heavy do not fly by that fast. But I think the part of the issue was, well, for me, not really like modern horror movies nowadays aren't really my thing is either excessive gore. This one leans more into the occult, more on the Zodiac killer side of things. But like the movie wasn't really that engaging for me to want to actually like sit down and stare at the screen, even though it felt like it was going by much faster. I think that's also a weird mix. I think movies can go by quickly when they're engaging, but when movies are also disengage you, they go by just as fast as well because there's nothing there to keep your attention, you know? So I
Mm.
think the movie had that problem going forward. I know it did well in like box office. It grossed like 126 million, I think, if I'm correct. I don't know. Let me double check. Yes, I think it did get about 100 and 140 million, 104 million. But still, for me, like I don't know, something about the pacing and the movie wasn't really as engaging for me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like imagine Seven or the Zodiac Killer, like some of the best like detective, like even True Detective. Like imagine like any of those
Yeah,
and then like strip all of the charisma of all of the actors and like interesting storytelling and like good writing and then you get this movie.
yeah,
Like this movie is like cosplaying as these other films. That's what it felt like to me. Like this was not a movie I enjoyed. I'm not saying that it's not enjoyable to people because obviously people definitely went to go watch this movie. Um, hence the box office numbers and like people just constantly talking about it. But to me, this movie was not, it just wasn't it. Like I felt the opposite way to you. I felt like everything was moving incredibly slow.
mm,
Like there were so many scenes that just felt dragged out to me. And because the main character is so like flat, you're not really getting anything. Like you're not, I don't know, nothing was keeping me engaged in the opposite way of like, I just felt like nothing was really happening. There were like some funny moments here and there, but it just wasn't giving. And the fact that Nicolas Cage is the villain, or sorry, he's a serial killer in this,
yeah,
and he produced it and whatever, but you barely see him. Like I understand how that adds to the horror element
yeah.
because it's scarier to like imagine what this person could be, and it keeps a kind of tension throughout the film. But I don't think even his introduction, like once you do get to see him, it didn't really do much for me either. And the whole none of it's in like certain plot points just were not lining up. And then the it felt like a shortcut of just being like, oh well, it's Satan. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't care. Like
Yeah,
it's just like nothing about this movie made me care.
yeah.
I think that the cinematography was great. It looked
Gorgeous.
amazing.
Yeah.
It looked fantastic. Um, I love the sound design in the score. Great. Like actually living for it. It was really good. It did add to the storytelling. It added to the tension. I think Micah did a good job with what she was given. Like, I mean, the character doesn't give you much, but I did like her performance in it. And I thought Nicolas Cage was great because he always is. But like, it just, and I love Blair Underwood. So happy to see him in this.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
like,
was like,
just
oh shit, my boy Blair Underwood. Like,
I'm proud of him. Just keep going. Like, I haven't seen him in so long. So I was just like, wow, it's just great to see you. And I think that the woman who plays her Micah's mother is also really good in the role. So it's not like anyone in terms of like their acting wasn't good. It's just that like the script just doesn't, it feels like there was a whole bunch of stuff that was like left out. And like they were kind of speed running through things, like you were
yeah,
saying, like it felt like it was going by fast. In terms of like the plot, it felt like things were like scurrying along. So you didn't really get to sit with anything. Like, Zodiac, Seven, those movies are hella long. But the reason that they are is so that they can kind of flesh out all of the detailed stuff. So like once you get to like specific moments that are really like shocking, you can feel the impact of it more. The same thing with True Detective. Like you have episodes where things aren't really happening and then you get to like a really good moment. So it's just like you can't chop out the buildup because
mhm,
then when you hit the punchline, nothing really, it doesn't land.
yeah.
So I don't
Like,
know.
really the only jarring part of the movie that actually caught me and like, oh, I need to continue to watch this was basically the beginning. You know,
Mm,
as we can't tell what I guess the gender or whatever of the initial killer was, a little girl. And then, then we go to her and her partner investigating, like, oh, and she's like, oh, it might be that house. Then blam, her partner's head just blown off. And then from there it just kind of drags. Like this movie is like a weird mix of like True Detective, occult stuff, a mix of it, stuff from like Blair Witch Project,
mm,
Zodiac Killer. It's like a hodgepodge of stuff,
mhm.
but to me, it doesn't really hit the mark definitely on what it wants to be. It's kind of trying like, oh, we have to be everything without doing either one of those things well. And I feel like if they had zoned in more on the like, I know what Seven and the Zodiac Killer delved more into the crime procedural aspect of this kind of thing.
Mhm.
And you've had what's that guy's name? The guy who's played like Ocean Master in the Aquaman movies. He always does these occult horror movies. Like he's good. Like his movies always delve more to, oh, we're gonna scare you with that occult shit. Like they're clearly defined in the direction the movie is taking. Here, there wasn't one, and I think that's why it didn't really. It kind of felt like it was meandering.
Yeah. It's hard when you've seen this kind of thing done better and then you're
Yeah,
watching this. It
yeah,
just feels, it, I don't know, like it feels weird. It just feels like a weird, like not really like any of those genres, but then simultaneously all of them at once. It just isn't really go anywhere, which
yeah,
is unfortunate because I think, like you said, like the beginning was really interesting. Like I was definitely like, ooh, okay, like let's see what this is about. But as it goes on, it's just like people making dumb decisions. Like the
yeah,
guy went to the house, like, dude, you're gonna die. As soon as he walked over there, I was just like, okay, well, you're dead. Um, and then her like leaving her house in the middle of the night when she hears a knock on the door and leaving the doors open. I was like, are you what? I couldn't understand it. And people just letting randos in their house. Like, how do you know these folks? Like,
yeah,
what are you talking about?
yeah,
I mean, I guess it was the 90s, so maybe people had more trust in their
yeah,
neighbors or just in other people. And I do like the setting in the 90s because like you don't have like I guess the technology and stuff to like get quick answers. So I do think that that was like a good
yeah,
addition to it. But like, I don't know, some of it just wasn't lining up for me. I didn't like the fact that she was personally connected to the murderer. I just
yeah,
felt like it would have been better if she was more objective from like what was going on, because then we can get like the procedural cool stuff that you would get in like a Zodiac or a Seven, like where it's just like let's just go down the line and like see like why is this person doing these things. The personal connection for me kind of I don't know it lessened the impact for some reason. I don't know why, but for me, I just felt like, well, of course you're connected, and of course you're the one who starts this whole thing, and he couldn't get you, so he employs your mom. Spoiler alert. And like I just didn't really like that. What were the dolls about? I still can't figure that piece out. I just don't. I don't really understand like how he is controlling these folks. Like, is it devil worship? Like is that their explanation for that? Because to me, that explanation is not giving me
It's
anything.
flimsy and weak,
Yeah.
especially when you consider, like, I guess she was supposed to be one of his victims as well. And then her mom was like, "Yeah, I'll join you to spare my daughter." So this has been going on for decades.
Yeah,
And
15 years at
yeah,
least.
and so now it
Yeah.
just hits the FBI's desk when she's also an FBI agent, and then they say, "Hey, you have this weird clairvoyance thing," and then honestly, the clairvoyance thing kind of just evaporates partway through the movie. Like
Hmm.
where it like it's too many perfectly fitting puzzles that shouldn't connect. Like, oh, you were going to be a victim when you were 9. Your mom somehow convinces the guy not to do his shit, and your mom joins him. And then somehow, decades later, when you're an FBI agent, oh, now they're investigating this weird series of killings that just recently started. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just not it's that's what I'm saying. Like it just isn't giving you anything. It's like, okay, really? Like this is the answer that we're landing on? It's
yeah,
this? Like,
yeah.
okay, I guess. Like, and my thing is that like if this was like a movie that was a little bit longer where they wanted to give you more stuff, which I think the
Hmm.
more stuff would have helped this film, or if it was like a television show, when Nicolas Cage kills himself at in the interrogation, that would be like the end of hour one, right? And then you're going to hour two to be like, okay, who else is helping this man
Yeah,
commit these murders? And then we could have spent more time on that. Or it would be like, okay, next episode, we're gonna get into that. But when it ends, it's just like, oh, it's one person and the one person is your mom. Okay,
yeah.
great. Great.
It's
So
it's not even that. Like after he dies, like there should have been like they continue to solve the crime, but they're like, okay, he's dead. The case is wrapped up. Like there wasn't like more killings directly after that. It was only just the one of, I guess, the head FBI guy, which is like that makes no sense at all, you know. So
it
if
was his daughter's birthday.
yeah.
So
Oh, your daughter's 9. Oh, now she's dead. Like, conveniently enough. Like, I feel like this writing was like, I just have to get to from point A to point B,
yeah.
no matter how. I just need somehow to get there, and I'm gonna just ass pull a connection to get to that point.
Hmm. And the thing that I was hearing from another creator about like why this movie did so well was because of the marketing, like the way that
Yes.
Neon marketed this film, where they were like, "This is the scariest thing that you'll ever see in your
Yeah.
entire life. Like this is gonna absolutely wreck you."
Yeah.
And like they had a really good social media campaign of like rolling this movie out.
Perfect.
That's why I
Yes.
kept hearing
Perfect.
about
Yeah.
it. And I'm like, I don't even like movies
Mm,
like this
yeah.
really, but I kept hearing about it. So they did a good job. So
And
people went to go see it.
that's
Now,
the
how they
same for
felt
me.
afterwards, I don't know.
Yeah, like that's the same for me. Like when it first initially came out, my friends like, "Oh, we're gonna see Longlegs is coming." I was like, "Nah, I'm not really big into horror or modern horror nowadays. So this is not really scary. It's more so say devil worship, that kind of stuff. It's not really like the detective mind kind of stuff. I like that we got in True Detective and shit,
Hmm.
or Hannibal, which kind of is detective stuff, kind of is occult stuff, but it works better than what here. So I was like, I didn't want to watch it because I saw all the marketing thing, like this is like the scariest thing. I was like, nah, I know my mental, it's not good for my mental. I don't want to watch this.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then you're like, okay, we're gonna do it for the podcast. Like, no, what? Screw it, I'll watch it. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what I got does not match the marketing campaign for this movie at all. So
Yeah, and I think that that's what it unintentionally ruined the actual film, the
yeah,
marketing campaign. Because if you're selling like this is going to be the scariest thing that you're ever going to see, then you really do have to live up to that.
yeah.
And like, how can you do that when you set the expectation so high? Like, I don't really know. I feel like if they set it lower and they were like, this is just like a cool indie horror detective movie,
Yeah.
that's like underground and that like all of your art friends are talking about. I think it probably would have done not better in terms of numbers because obviously the numbers are strong, but I mean like critically, I feel like it would have probably done better in that way just because it's like, okay, even if it wasn't great, it was better than what you might have expected. So, it kind of raised the bar a little bit. Like your expectations weren't completely on the floor. But I feel like if you're gonna say that this is the scariest thing you ever see, like
Yeah.
I don't know
And
how you come up to that.
especially considering that this movie, the budget was less than $10 million.
Yeah.
Like it would have been a success no matter what. Like I think like the marketing behind it was really what pushed it over the top. And I think if you
Hmm.
talk to a lot of people who probably saw the movie when it initially came out, like earlier last month, they would have probably came to the same conclusion, like, oh, this is not what I expected at all.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. So that was, I don't know, it just feels like a missed opportunity because I feel like what I was hearing the most was Nick Cage and like his performance in this. And like he did look absolutely disgusting. He looked repulsive. Like the prosthetics were on point. But I just felt like as soon as he's introduced, like you already know he's the bad guy. Like there was no like subtlety in terms of like, I wonder who it is. Like you have a person who just looks evil. Like he just looks like he's gonna commit the murders.
yeah,
So like it kind of there's no tension, and then he's obviously just like really weird.
yeah,
So it's just like, well, obviously it's you. That's what I'm saying. Like I didn't feel any build up to anything. It was just like, okay, well, that kind of felt predictable, or that didn't really make sense, or that was a really good idea. I wish we explored it more.
yeah,
Like Kiernan Shipka's character who plays the girl in the mental hospital. I was like, what are you talking about? Like I had no idea what was going on
yeah,
while she was talking. But I thought like how she was holding herself and like the energy she was giving. I was like, okay, that's cool. I like what you're doing with the performance bit, but the dialogue bit, like the writing, I'm just like, what? And then she ends up killing herself off screen. It's like,
why?
okay, so you know what I'm saying? It's just like nothing matters. That's what it feels like in this movie. Absolutely nothing matters. And that
Yeah,
ending, I hated it. I was just
yeah,
like,
why?
why?
Yeah. I get it sucks because I know for me, like think of Blair Underwood. Like he's one of those actors like who I think should be kind of on par with Denzel. He has like kind of gravitas, he can deliver the same kind of performances, but he never gets the opportunity to show his chops. And you look at the trend of all these actors who've done these kind of detective horror procedurals in a way, who has helped elevate his career, and especially with him, he's like close, I think about 60 years old, like in
Mm.
the near the twilight of his career. And like that, if this movie was as good as it was supposed to be, that would probably make a massive jump start and rejuvenate his career in ways like we are incalculable, probably, you know. So yeah, it's this movie like it's a Nicolas Cage movie. Somehow when Nicolas Cage gets involved in movies, something always happens. So yeah, but
Yeah, it's always kind of like a hit or miss. Like sometimes it'll be like, oh, that is really good. And other times you're like, oh, that wasn't,
yeah.
no.
So yeah.
So yeah.
Um, oh wow, this is less than 40 minutes. So you just want to go until the timer comes up?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do
All right.
it.
All right. So moving on from mid-level movies, we're going to talk about the celebration of Hollywood's some of greatest shows, greatest actors of the last year or so with the Emmys, that were last night. Of course, Hacks amazingly, somehow s- outdid the bear in this. Um, and of course, Lemar Morris of New Girl, and he won for his role in Fargo, beating out Robert Downey Jr., which was a shock to a lot of people as well. So,
Mhm. I did not see the Sympathizer.
mhm.
Did you watch it?
I mean, I saw promotion for it. Like every time if you watch something on Hulu or whatever, or wherever, you would always see the commercial. I thought it was an interesting concept of Robert Downey Jr. playing like almost the whole cast in a way. Um,
Okay.
it piqued my interest, but I never really got an opportunity to watch it because something about it never really inspired me to go pick it up, you know?
Okay. Yeah, I kept seeing the marketing for it, but it was like that show and the other show with Justin Theroux and Woody Harrelson, what White House Plumbers or something.
Yeah.
Both of them looked good, but I was like, yeah, I'm not in the mood to watch this, so I just never watched it. But um I'm sure that RDJ is fine.
Yes, he's
But
all right.
it is interesting that it didn't. I mean, I'm fine with it, honestly. Like Lamorne Morris, he honestly was holding New Girl down, especially in those last seasons.
Hmm.
Like it was him carrying that show on his back. So I'm extremely happy that he is like moving in a different direction, getting a lot of um attention for his work. Like that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Like, because usually when you do those comedy things, sometimes you don't get to break out and do other stuff and get recognized for it. So I'm very happy for him. Um, apparently, the bear kind of it was like the bear and Shogun that really dominated this Emmys, and Colon Zayas won for her. I guess it was Best Supporting Actress. My thing is like I also wanted Io to win,
Yeah.
but the woman from that other show that I don't watch, Hacks,
Yeah.
she won. The conversation about the bear is very interesting because it didn't win best comedy series. Hacks won, and they were saying a couple of reasons why it didn't like come up for people. Maybe because they were saying, well, it's not really wholly a comedy,
Yeah.
which I mean, didn't we already know that from season one? I feel like it was never a straight comedy.
None. Yeah.
Or was that just is
Yeah.
that just me? Or is like it was
Like,
never a comedy in the first place, like a straight one? I
yeah.
don't.
Like somebody on Twitter, like I read, I wish I could remember the name, but like two key things popped out with this for me as far as Emmys. One person said like they're asking all the cast members input, and is you can ask the cast members, but they were like saying somebody said, writing comedy, yes, is hard, but writing comedy in serious dramatic work and making hard-hitting drama also have funny and lighthearted moments is actually a lot harder. And I think that's the issue. Like I think the Emmy committee or FX, whoever's submitting the bear in, is like, oh, this show is funny. It's making me laugh, missing the mark with the comedy. And I think that's the thing. If it was not in the same category as Hacks, and it probably in because Shogun is FX as well. Like they probably would have split a lot of these awards with Shogun, the bear, and it would have been an amazing boon for Hulu slash FX because they could say, oh, both our properties or were the two biggest winners out of the award show. Like these dramas. Like if you want good drama and stuff like come submit your stuff to FX or whatever. But yeah. I
Yeah, it's interesting. And people were also saying that season three wasn't that good. I
I
don't know.
mean
I didn't watch it, so I can't say.
I think people are saying season three wasn't as good because season three spent more time on everybody's personal growth
Hmm.
as a unit, more so than of focusing Carmi and his drama, which some of the comedy and stupid moments happen to come out of. And that's what people, for the most part, like all the memes are mostly about Carmi, being a chef and him going crazy. But I like when shows take time, like to flesh out everybody's character. You know who they are, where they're coming from. Hell, what's that lady who always calls everybody Jeff and decided to actually go to culinary school and stuff in the kitchen in the restaurant? Like she was nominated as
Isn't it
well.
Liza?
Yeah, Liza. So I
Yeah,
think
she
she
won.
won. Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like if it wasn't for her getting a character specific show, we actually get to see her as a character evolve. Like I don't think she would have had the opportunity to win that award. And she's like the first Latin woman to win that award in that category, like the
Hmm.
whole existence of the Emmys, which is groundbreaking. But once again, if you don't get those kind of character moments, this award doesn't happen for her.
Yeah. And I think IO directed that
Yeah.
episode. So
So
winning. And
yeah.
Jeremy won and Epon won. So like it was just like because of all of the other ones, the fact that it didn't win best comedy, like the overarching category, I think people were surprised by that. Um I didn't watch Shogun, so I don't know what happened. I just heard it was good. So I was like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. I didn't question it. I was just like, sure. Um, this thing happened though. So Slow Horses, which is a show on Apple TV, I think, with Gary Oldman. I think it won for no, it didn't win for best limited series. What did it win for? Da, 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 da. Okay, I don't know. But the creator of the show is a man called Will Smith.
Mhm.
And then he got on stage when he won the award and said, first of all, relax. Despite my name, I come in peace.
Mm,
End quote.
that's in poor taste. But and that's my thing. Like a lot of these award shows, there is some kind of like hidden, like I want to say racism, but almost hidden racism to a degree. Like the response I saw from some people online about Shogun winning was like, "Oh, this all Asian cast where no one's speaking English won." Like the oddity of it. But this is something film people have been talking about for years. Like there is a large like swath of wonderful entertainment. If you just get your head out your ass and take a couple seconds to read like on like 3 inches worth of like text, you'll be fine. But people, for some reason, refuse to do that. So
Yeah, I don't like that. Which is so weird to me because like when Parasite won at the Oscars, it was great.
yeah.
Everyone couldn't be more excited. So like what's the issue with Shogun? Like what's the issue here? Like what's that other show? Panicu?
Huh?
Panichu? Is it Panichu? Panic I can't I can't pronounce it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know you're talking about, yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone loved that too. So it's just like, why are we having an issue with Shogun?
I mean,
What's your
look,
beef? Like
I don't see why people are concerned when it comes like what's the other show on like Emily in Paris is 5 seasons. This girl has yet to learn French at all. Like, come on.
that, that got renewed for a fifth season, and
Yeah.
I like, what can you guys possibly be doing over there? Like, I can't even imagine. Like, what it seemed bad from the jump. Like, I watched the first episode and I said, no, I can't imagine it's gotten better over time. I'm pretty sure it hasn't. So, like, who is keeping these people on a roll? Like, why do we need more seasons of Emily in Paris? But y'all are canceling good shows. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's so in other news, we have word that Coleman Domingo is circling Steven Spielberg's next event film at Amblin and Universal. So the dish is supposedly the title of Steven Spielberg's next movie, and Coleman is said to be joining that cast, which includes Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Eve Houston, Colin Firth, I think, is also involved as well. And I think it'll start filming in February of 2025 in, I believe, New Jersey. So this cast is going to be very stacked, which is incredibly exciting. And it's giving, I don't know, it's giving Close Encounters a little bit. That's what it's feeling like from the very little description that we have of what it
Mhm.
is. But it's really exciting to see Coleman do something like big, big, big. Because I know that he did, obviously, Euphoria is like a really huge TV show, but like in terms of film, I think he's been mostly in the indie space. So it'll be really cool to see him in this.
Yeah, I think like between last year when well last year this well mostly last year this he's only done like 2 movies. He was in Color Purple and he was in Sing Sing. Sing Sing took my sister to the screening of it. Amazing picture. Happy for Domingo because he's admitted he also said he kind of bettered himself because as a black actor in Hollywood you're typically typecast into certain roles. And he said, I'm just not gonna go and audition for those things, and it has worked out wonderfully for him because, there are certain actors who have a certain level of gravitas that they cannot be denied, and he's one of those actors. Um, and this movie, I think, is coming out May 15th, 2026, which is, that summer blockbuster zone is literally created by Steven Spielberg himself with Jaws and the
Yes.
Indiana Jones movie. So if it wasn't for him, all these big action movies and stuff, those box office Jaws would come out in the summer, that spot wouldn't exist if it wasn't for him, because at the time period when he was doing it, that was initially considered a dead spot for movies to be released. So, but yeah, I can't wait for it.
I know.
So
Icons only.
yeah.
Icons only.
Uh,
Love it.
um, well, along with that, James Cameron has given a hint into his next project post Avatar. He has gone on to purchase the rights of Charles Pellegrino's upcoming book, The Ghost of Hiroshima. Cameron is said he's going to use that in Pellegrino's 2015 book called The Last Train from Hiroshima, um, which will be the basis for a film he shoots after Avatar. And he's going to adapt both those books of nonfiction to one theatrical film. Um, and if those books or the film is supposed to focus on a true story of a Japanese man in World War II who survived those bombs that got dropped in Hiroshima and got on a train to Nagasaki, and then also survived the explosion there. And both those books draw on the voices of two actual survivors of the nuclear bombs that dropped those two cities and some forensic stuff that and data that they've collected in the area. So it seems like fresh off the heels of, we just had Oppenheimer, and I guess Avatar is supposed to come out 2016, so we'll probably see this movie about 2017, I guess. Um
2017? 2027?
2027, sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully. And it also the second book is supposed to come out August of next year, marking the 80th anniversary of the dropping of top bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But it feels like that idea has post Oppenheimer, we're going to see another increase in trend of World War II-esque books dealing or movies dealing with that subject matter, just like we saw the last couple years with increased stuff with in relation to World War II and also Nazis and all the stuff that's going on in the current world. I think current world trends influence movies a lot more than people care to admit. So,
Yeah. And I'm just wondering, like, when is he gonna be done with those Avatar movies? Doesn't he have like four or five of them? Not of them, but like he has Avatar 4, and I think he has an Avatar 5. Like, and those movies take years to make. So I'm like, when are we making this one?
yeah, yeah,
I have,
I think the hardest part with those movies is the CGI and stuff because it's not, of course, traditional film. It's heavily dependent on technology, but I think they said Fire and Ash is dropping next year, and then after that, he has the two other movies. So maybe in the time it takes to get the actual like technology ready for those two other movies, they'll be shooting this story about Hiroshima in that same
okay.
time frame. So
Yeah, I guess I can do it. And I also like that, like, all of these directors, be it Spielberg, Cameron, Denis Villeneuve, Christopher Nolan, like, they're all kind of on the forefront of like how technology is informing their movies and like what they can do with it. And it's funny that they're like doing talks together and they're all really like big fans of each other. It's really sweet, actually. It's like a nice little community of people
yeah.
who are just like pushing the boundaries of like what you think is possible in terms of filmmaking, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let's talk about what we have been watching.
I've taken like a big like entertainment social media break. I think it's good a lot of times for people to like disconnect, clear their mind. This past 2 weeks, I'm like, you know what? And after we did Alien and then also watching this, I was like, after that, I'm gonna kind of go on a whole um detox, if you will, with media. Like the only thing I'm aware of media wise is, Agent Orange had an attempt on him, and that's really all I know. I'm looking the thing I'm looking forward the most is the Penguin coming out. So yeah.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to see it. Yeah, I haven't really been watching anything either, just because I don't know. I just want to like watch comfort things, and comfort things are things I've already seen.
Yeah.
So there's nothing new there. But I did finish watching The Boy and the Heron. Um, and it was really good. Um, I feel like I missed Robert Pattinson's voice acting, which makes me kind of mad because I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice it, which is not good. So I feel like I have to watch that again. But in terms of everything else, great movie. I really thought the message was good. And yeah, I loved that one. That was good. Um, and I also been like, I haven't been watching, but like I watch people react to things because I like, especially stuff that I don't want to watch.
Mhm.
I love watching that. So like I was watching some of my favorite creators watching Ginny and Georgia. They're like watching that show that came out on Netflix about the mom and the daughter. It's a hot mess, like truly a hot mess, but it's also extremely entertaining. Like I get like why these kinds of shows, especially that are geared towards young people, that are written terribly and like some of the acting is awful, but like it's so crazy that you're like hooked on it. It's like a modern soap opera. Like
Yeah.
it's not as like corny as soap operas, but it is cringy as like 50-year-olds are trying to write Gen Z type of things. So like you're getting the cringe, but you're also just getting the mess. And honestly, as dumb as it is, I'm like, yeah, I'm not invested, but I am paying
You have
attention.
to see what happens next,
I am
kind of
paying
thing.
attention.
I don't know. Like,
So
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think with a lot of modern stuff, like they write young people's stuff really cringy. Like there's a trend I think on social media stuff about I think it's called book talk. And
oh
like
yeah, book talk.
and
Mhm.
like a lot of them are complaining about, hey, if your book has like a lot of words, I don't like it. And I was like, y'all people are supposed to like enjoy reading. Like, what's y'all problem with like actual like with actual stuff for books? Like one lady was like, oh, if the book is too long, I ain't reading it. So I think that mentality of people are stupid now has translated into what they give young adults in some of our content. So
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense. Also, to the book talk thing, I know we're not even whatever, but like, I feel like I do understand the sentiment because I also don't like reading long things. I'm
why are
reading a
you
book.
reading books?
No, because your book can be short and be amazing. There are so many authors who have books that are like short or like reasonably short, like 200 whatever pages. Great books. Like, get to the point, it's great. But I'm reading a book right now that's like pretty well, like critically, loved and on the New York Times bestseller list and all that other stuff called The Bee Sting. And it is long. It is like 600 pages. Um, it's extremely dense, but it's great. Like I'm thoroughly enjoying reading this book. So I feel like it really depends. Like sometimes the book will just be like long because people don't like the author didn't know how to get to the point quick enough. But I
Mhm.
also just feel like there are books that are long because they're trying to take you through like a certain journey. And if the writing is really good, you'll enjoy it. So maybe that person just didn't find the right book. I don't know. I don't want to bag on them too much, but I do know that like people's attention spans are shorter now
Yeah.
than they are. Like if you're on your phone and watching TV and you're also like making dinner, like you're not like that's the climate that we're living in right now,
Yeah.
where you're doing like five different things at the same time. So it's difficult to try to like gear things towards young people. And I feel like um sometimes the cringe is I don't know what it is. Sometimes it's like ironically funny. So maybe, younger people like that ironic humor. I sound like a boomer right now, but like, it just
Younger
I think that
people
there's
like just
the
age both of us
children.
like
Yeah.
massively.
But
Uh,
yeah, I think that they're into that. And or you have something like Euphoria, which is like to me kind of cringe in terms of like some of the dialogue, but the aesthetics and everything is really good. So like that captures people. Like there are really bad movies, Saltburn, that young people are obsessed with just because the aesthetics are on point.
hey, I like
Now,
Saltburn.
honestly, if the aesthetics and you have like hot people in your movie, that's kind of for Gen Z, like that's all that they need,
This is true.
which is not good. So we're we have to gear them towards a different space. Okay, so that's it for this week. We hope that you're all doing well and taking care of yourselves. Make sure to check out all of our social media, support us if you can, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.
Au revoir.